Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, it is I am the one and only Sonic the Hedgehog here, aka the Blue Blur, aka Blue Justice, and I am from the likes of the Maxi Toys videos once again. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for some more of Let's Play of Castlevania 3 Dracula's Curse for the NES/Famicom. So, last time we essentially did manage able to show you guys some of these levels in the game, and also we did somehow manage able to brought along not only Grand Dynasty, but also with the forms of Cypher Monatis. And as a result, hopefully by that time though, as you can tell, that today for this video is that not only this is going to be the finale video of this entire Let's Play of Castlevania 3 Dracula's Curse, but it's also one of the longest videos we've ever done related to playing Castlevania stuff. And not only that though, this will actually going to be post-commentary from now on, mainly because that after seriously got able to do multiple playthroughs, just for the sake of the forms to try to show off the different variety when it comes to level themes, as well as from that as you can tell, I still managed able to go myself Grand Dynasty with us. So as a result, yeah, this is the reason why this particular part took so long, mainly because of one thing, multiple replayabilities. So as a result, I don't mind about it too much though, but when it comes to doing this process for this particular Let's Play in mind, my god, this actually took me about 6 hours or so, maybe even more, mainly because of, as I said before, since in yesterday, there's a lot of frustration involved. So as you can tell, no matter what though, is about the fact that, as you can tell, we're now going into the forms of the alternative levels. So, what I'm essentially going to do is that, since luckily I did somehow manage able to actually utilize one of those save states for the sake of the forms of how the fact that we can able to guarantee to able to show off certain levels and what have you, which as a result I've got no words to explain about any of those specific stuff though. Although, luckily though, until in Super Castlevania 4 and Castlevania Bloodlines, hopefully the actual recording sessions will be self-explanatory and streamlined as well. So we don't need to worry about the forms of this constant replays of the exactly same playthroughs again, except with the forms of different partners we can able to brought along. In addition to that though, it's just too much, I'm telling you. It's just way too much to able to describe about the forms of how the fact that why this video took so long. But even then though, kind of think about it, the last time we actually did something related to the forms of an hour video uploading schedule in mind was back in Sonic Origins for the mission mode. So because of this though, yeah, no wonder why it's gonna take so long. But here we are now, on to the forms of, well, suffice to say, is that today's date, of course, is the 15th of October today, in some cases in 2023 today. Naturally speaking, like I said before, that I finally managed able to go myself Mephiles the Dark in Sonic Dash, although originally I was expecting to able to actually get the second unlockable character, which appears to be by the forms of All-Star Baseball Amy, but as a result, I still haven't got enough of it though, so hopefully I'll wait until when God knows if Classic Super Sonic will become playable in Sonic Dash, maybe by that time until when Sonic Superstars is about to come out. So, but even then no. And of course, not only does Sonic Superstars get leaked online, which as a result I'm gonna have to ignore those for now, but also same applies with Super Mario Bros. Wonder as well. Gee, 2 amazing platforms is about to be coming, or still coming, despite the fact that most people seemed able to bring out the leaks online, which as a result I'm still gonna have to ignore those for now, just in case I don't want to get too spoiled. So because of that though, hopefully that Luigi will able to mention more about Sonic Superstars once he's going back onto Luigi's Mansion, specifically for Monday, Wednesday, Thursday and Friday for now, because like I said before, I've decided to take a break on Sonic Frontiers for a little while, just in case I still need to able to get some bit of practice for the sake of the forms of some hardest parts about the forms of the Final Horizon DLC update. So yeah, you probably get the idea of how the fact that I'm gonna have to able to try to do this way. Thus, because of that though, I'm pretty much excited to play Sonic Superstars on my own time once that game comes out. Same applies with Super Mario Bros. Wonder as well. So yeah, it's pretty insane about the fact that, well, it gets a bit ridiculous every nowadays. It's about the fact that everyone gets the game pretty early than us. So yeah, it's a bit ridiculous if you ask me when it comes to likely releasing certain games in an odd period of times. So I just have no words to say. So anyways though, So, as a result for that particular matter though, is about the fact that, let's talk about the forms of how the fact that when it comes to anniversaries that's been going on for not only certain games, well, I've only found 2 of those games that did recently been celebrated during the forms of this particular month so far. That's what it appears to be by the forms of, aside from the fact that it's been about, let's just say, 14 years ago since the UK version of Mario Luigi Bowser's Inside Story did first came out in the DS version, at least in the UK version, since 9th of October in 2009 in the UK's release, which also applies for Kingdom Hearts 358 over 2 days. So yeah, it seems pretty incredible to be able to actually look back on those 2 games back to back, both on the DS as a matter of fact. So, but anywho though, when it comes to something related to both the Wii game and the DS game respectively, is that recently, Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Winter Games has recently became 14 years old, both on the Wii and DS. So, and while looking back on it though, I still believe that Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Winter Games is my favorite installment of the series, most notably because the forms of the introduction into proper Dream events on the Wii version, which as a result has some very unique themes based off from the Mario and Sonic universe. So even then though, that's the perfect example of why, while looking back on it though, I still managed able to enjoy the game even to this day. Maybe at one point I will able to actually play this game more often, especially concerning for the fact that we've almost nearly at the forms of the winter season, so that should be gets a little bit more high expectations for the sake of the forms of trying to able to play that nostalgia game again. Well, the last time I actually played the game was back in, I would say last year, although the only thing I haven't done yet, and that's what appears to be testing out the Wii Balance Board mode, which I haven't actually utilized my Wii Balance Board for some time, aside from playing, you know what I'm saying, both Wii Fit and Wii Fit Plus, but that's about it basically. So because of that though, and I just have no idea why, that I somehow skipped over Wii Fit U. Well, that's mainly because about the fact that I'm more nostalgic when it comes to the forms of the original, not only the original, but also the Plus variant as well. So yeah, you probably get the idea about that. So, alright, here we go with this next fight, and right off the bat, I died, so oh well, no big deal, because we got checkpoints from that particular door that we just opened, so. And by the way, be very careful of those spikes, by the way, because they can really hurt you in this game. Especially that once we get to the forms of Super Castlevania 4 and onwards, I believe something tells me is that much like the classic Mega Man games, if you dare touch the spikes, you instantly die. So, yeah, it's very similar to the forms of in classic Mega Man, kind of think about it. So, anyway though, and as far as the DS version of Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Winter Games, I think that might actually be one of the best handheld Mario and Sonic game I ever played. Well, aside from one of those frustrating moments here and there, specifically Dream Ice Hockey against with Bowser and Eggman, because my god, the rubber banding AI, it feels way too cheap in during the forms of the Ice Hockey event during the finale portion of the game, which by the way, you have to play that particular, you know what I'm saying, that battle twice for the sake of not only for its story progression, but if you really want to get out of your way, to able to actually unlock the final 2 characters in story mode, which is of course both Bowser and Dr. Eggman, you need to get out of your way in order to able to actually just try to able to complete those events back to back, and realize about the fact that the AI can get a little bit more aggressive. I mean, it's not so bad in the forms of well, let's just say Blazing Bobsleigh, and as well as the forms of Dream Snowboard Cross. But as a result, that it's just with Dream Ice Hockey, it's just not only because of this AI, but it's also that the controls, it feels a bit too finicky for my liking. So that's the reason why I do honestly prefer the Wii version over a bit more. Aside from the only bad thing I can think about the Wii version while looking back on it though, is its very bad load times though. Like, it probably took you about a few seconds to load, which as a result, I totally get it because of how the fact that this was technically the first Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games series, or the first game of the forms of the Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Game kind of stuff, that it only runs at 30 FPS, whilst compared to the forms of how it does in the future installments, like the also for London 2012 Olympic Games, runs very consistent with all that 30 frames per second for some areas, and the majority of the time 60 FPS. Well, the only exception being is of course multiplayer stuff, because while during playing multiplayer, that is locked out behind 30 FPS, similar to the forms of how it does in both Mario Kart Wii and Mario Kart 8 on both not only the Wii U, but also on the Switch as well for its deluxe treatment. So, and here we have ourselves the fourth, and potentially speaking, the final playable character, which appears to be buddy forms of Alucard. Yes, that particular Alucard, making its first appearance in this game, which I'll explain more details about him, but for now, let's go ahead and take him on for the entire journey for just a little bit, because like I said before, this entire process of this recording session just takes a bit of a long time to able to get this process going, especially because not only, as I said before, in terms of frustration, but it's also about the fact, no matter what though, is that doing this process alone, for showing you guys multitude of like levels and such, it might take a very long time to able to get this process going. So anyways though, so it looks like this is the continuation of level 5, at least according to the forms of that particular top right corner of the screen as you see. So yeah, in terms of the forms of Alucard, I think to me, Alucard is my least favorite character to play as in this game. Like, his main default weapon is, quote-unquote, balls of destruction, that if you manage able to keep on upgrading him, basically you can either just shoot 2 balls or 3 ball projectiles, but it just feels a lot to be more desired. But there's also, technically, you can also deal with him by simply able to turn into a vampire, or to be more specifically a bat transformation, but I can never for the life of me trying to able to figure this something out, because mind you, I haven't exactly played this game for quite some time. Oh jeez, the damage output is so ridiculously high. I mean seriously, whoever thought that was actually an inexcusable thing to able to notice for Western audiences. I mean, relatively speaking though, I could possibly understand about the forms within the Japanese version makes the game a little bit more balanced, but either way though, that's some consumption I suppose. So anyway, so we've met again with the formless split path, except now we can able to actually go into either the top path or the bottom path. Let's go for the top path first, which pretty much leads us to, let's just say, yet another continuation of level 5, which pretty much leads us to the boss straight away. Well, I would say straight away, but unfortunately though, I think I'm about to die from that random block that has been dropped from the skies. So yeah, I think we're most able to go ahead and trying to be very careful around here and just make sure we don't suffer from knockback. And oh, these little weird spritey ghosts or spirit ghosts are pretty annoying to deal with. Although it's bad enough about the fact that I will say that the balls of destruction technique for Alucard, it just feels like a huge disadvantage right here. Although I will say is that I'm also able to actually just to stick around with not only for the sake of the forms of Trevor Belmont, but it's also with the forms of Cypher for the sake of the forms of the magic abilities. So yeah, unfortunately though, I'm not a big fan of playing as Alucard in this game, but hopefully by that time, once we get to Castlevania Symphony of the Night, then obviously he'll be incredibly fun to play as for the sake of Alucard. So but it seems kind of weird in the forms of the NES format for the likes of Alucard, if you couldn't tell, but even then though, something tells me is that we're about to come across into the exactly same boss as the first world, or the first level, except I did somehow die, but that's okay, because the reason why I have to die right there is probably because I don't think it's possible for me to able to actually deal with him during the forms of a little bit of health left. So as a result, we'll go and switch over to Trevor Belmont for the majority of the time, so we can pretty much guarantee we can able to actually just to deal with him for reals, I suppose. So, but anywho though, oh, and another thing too is that there's also another game that managed able to celebrate its 10th anniversary treatment as well, and so much so is that, well, happy 10th anniversary of the game's release of Skylanders Swap Force, which as a result, never played it, and as a result, I wasn't really into the Skylanders stuff up until likely 2016, where they finally bring back you know, Crash Bandicoot and Dr. Neo Cortex, except the fact that these figures every nowadays is gonna get a lot more Steam price. So as a result, yeah, that's the reason why I just somehow skipped over the majority of the Skylander series as for this point in time, especially because I'm not really a big fan of those specific stuff. I mean, to be fair, it was before the Amiibo system comes into play for Nintendo's part, but even then, no, it's not my cup of tea, I must be quite frank. So anyways, we come across into this the exactly same fight as we saw since the first stage in the game, except now it makes things a little bit tougher this time because his bones are actually all scattered. So because of that though, yeah, it's a bit like the bones of how it does it from Dev from the first game with all these little like weird weapon stuff that he decides to toss at us. So, and there we go, that pretty much takes care of that particular stage. And once we're done with that, we're now actually going to be exploring the let's just say an underground cavern part? At least if I was assuming so anyway, so and I get the feeling I'm also able to get yet another game over at this point, because, like I said before, it's just this game is already hard enough as it is, which, as a result, still is my main gripe I have with the game is its difficulty. I mean, kind of think about it, it's very similar to the forms of how it does it on not only Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels, mind you, but it's also with the forms of other games as well, like Zelda 2 The Adventure of Link, as well as the forms of Ghosts and Goblins on the NES, and also Super Meat Boy, and also there is the forms of I can't remember what's the hardest games they've got for the sake of the forms of the old retro stuff here and there. Oh, Battletoads. Yeah, Battletoads is really, really tough. And even especially noticeable with the original Mega Man 1. So, because of the forms of its limitations of Mega Man's movesets and stuff like that, with all that, you know, the lack of slide, as well as the charge shot, and especially noticeable with the forms of this archaic jumps and stuff like that sometimes. But even though, no, that's as far as I can usually say about this, as far as I'm usually concerned with, so... Oh yeah, perfect timing as well, for the sake of the forms of how in fact, I suppose I'm also mentioning about this a little bit earlier on, but even then though, eventually that Luigi will able to explain more about it, and so when he goes back onto Luigi's Mansion, of course, is that by that time until tomorrow anyway, for those of you who lived in America, no, not the America, because that's usually came out later than the UK version, is that I believe the UK version of specifically, oh wait, maybe I was thinking about something else. Is it? Yeah, I must have thinking about something else. I think so anyway. So, yeah, even then, no, it's just about the fact no matter what though, it's just, well, I need to concentrate too hard for the sake of the forms of trying to able to not to die too many times, but still, it's just like, it feels a bit too much for its cheap enemy placement sometimes, and on top of that, it's just too much to work with, so... Speaking of which though, we still have no idea when does the forms of the Knuckles series from Paramount Plus will be releasing during that time. I mean, seriously, I don't know when is it going to be releasing exactly, but even then, no, I suppose I'll find out more details about that eventually, but either way though, I suppose we'll have to wait, so... Oh jeez, the platforming segments can get a little bit tricky at this point, but even then though, hopefully though, we can pretty much guarantee we can able to actually go across these huge chasms of bottomless pits, and on top of all that stuff though, just anything else. And also, just duck, because otherwise, if you don't duck at all, then obviously you just get a few rooms back, so... Also be careful of that spike ceiling, so... Oh jeez. Oh my lord. Oh god. Some more Axe Knights. Come on. Thank you. I was expecting to be able to jump over towards that particular platform there, but I'm probably not going to risk it, so I just got to go up to the stairs instead. It might not be the safest solution, mind you. Oh, goody. Oh, thank goodness. We somehow come across into a pot roast, so that's more like it. Although, thankfully, until in Super Castlevania 4, that game is pretty generous when it comes to health pickups, specifically like drumstick, or to be more specifically, some more pot roast. So, but then again, we'll talk more about that game until next week or so. So because of that, I think if I recall correctly, is that one of those games in particular called Sonic Lost World, that presumably speaking, that game is going to be 10 years old until Wednesday coming up. So because of that though, yeah, it's probably best if we let Luigi be able to mention more about it when he, you know, he goes back onto Luigi's Mansion, so... Anyway, so we've taken down this Frankenstein boss again, so except this time it does manage to take place in a different environment, so... And there we go, that pretty much takes care of stage number 6, so... And now we can move on to level 7 as far as progression goes, and it seems to be more specifically we're about to come across into not only one boss, but 2 bosses, so likely also for the mid-boss and the main boss of the stage, so... But that was before when Super Castlevania 4 also does this as well. But again, we'll talk more about Super Castlevania 4 until next week, like I said before. So yeah, not much else explanations for the sake of time. So oh, and another thing too is that, well, if you couldn't tell already, I'm actually pretty happy about the forms of what I've got from my Nintendo Switch right now, is that I finally managed able to obtain myself Dragon Slayer Trilogy now. So because of that, I don't need to worry about the forms of this very restricted difficulty thing for getting those godforsaken trophies on the PS3 version. Although, I was expecting to be able to re-obtain the PS3 version, digital download versions of Castlevania 1, or no, not Castlevania, specifically Dragon Slayer 1, 2, and Space Ace. But I feel like about the fact that the trophies obtaining wise is really difficult. So yeah, as a result, I potentially decided able to go after the Switch version instead. Just because not only I can play these 3 classic arcade games on the go, on the fly, but also is that what I've noticed is that the UI is obviously based off from the iPhone version, just because of that particular familiar simplistic text here and there, even with the forms of that particular UI and such for the sake of the menus. So, but yeah, for what I've played it so far, I still managed to enjoy it. So, but even then though, but thankfully I can now finally play these games on the go. So because of that though, similar to the forms of how it does it what I used to have, the mobile phone versions of not only Dragon Slayer 1, but also Dragon Slayer 2, and Space Ace. But thankfully, that I can simply just use the controller this time rather than the touchscreen. So, because sometimes I will admit though, is that if you tap the wrong icon on the phone version, that sometimes it might hinder your progression. But thankfully with the controller, that seems it's self-explanatory. So, at least whatever I think so anyway. So, anyways though, oh god, these annoying blobs is returning since in Castlevania 2 Simon's Quest. Even though they might be a little bit of a nightmare to deal with, just like in Castlevania 2 Simon's Quest, but hopefully we're able to just beat them down by simply able to utilize the actual axe weapon. Oh god, okay. I get a feeling that level 7 is gonna be the longest level in the entire game in Castlevania 3, not just because of the forms of this very long segments you have to go through, and also, as I said before, very awkward enemy placement from time to time, and also godforsaken stairs. I mean, yeah, you probably already know why I was going to be thinking about this, so... And also I realized that item is gone, so what's the point? So... What's the point of me checking in there anyway? So... Oh, wait a minute. Something tells me we might as well have a rematch against with this little vampire bat fight, so... Except now it takes place in a different environment and it plays pretty much exactly the same. So, in fact, for the majority of the time, with only one in particular exception to this factor, is that we might as well able to come across into certain repeated fights. So, now I think relatively speaking though, this will be the true definition of the final time we were able to actually come across into certain rematch incarnations for certain boss fights every once in a while. Whilst whenever we get to the forms of the level 8 and level 9, and maybe level 8, not level 10 by the way, because of the space limitations, but rather level 8, which pretty much stands for the final level in the game, which as a result, yeah, I'll pretty much have to save that particular topic for later, and oh god, falling blocks everywhere. And my god, it reminds me of so much of that mini Tetris kind of stage. Well, At least specifically though, I really even imagine about the fact that if the next Smash Bros. Game were able to feature a Tetris-like stage, my god, it will be insane. But, that does not seem the case at all, unfortunately, so, oh boy, this stage can go pretty much felt a bit too slow, and not only that, it tends to drag on, so yeah, this is a prime example of why that level 7 is, without a doubt, is the longest level in the entire game, so oh boy, this might take a while, this might take a bit of a while. But still, waiting patience is key here. I mean, I can possibly understand for its challenge, but seriously though. But anywho though, although, relatively speaking though, is about the fact that originally, we were going to be able to pre-order, not just by the forms of WarioWare Move It, but also with Super Mario RPG Remake on the Switch. Well, as it turns out, that Mario was actually pretty desperate today, and as a result, although not just by the forms of Mario himself, but also Wario as well, that both keep on asking me, saying that, are you gonna pre-order WarioWare Move It, and as well as Super Mario RPG Remake? And I was like, fine. I know you both are pretty desperate, able to actually get those, last 2 Nintendo Switch games to ever come out for the sake of the forms of 2023. Although, I was originally able to expect to also get Detective Pikachu Returns on the Switch, but in the end though, I basically just no longer get hypes about that game, especially because at the end of the day, it feels like the reviews of that particular game in mind is now gonna get mixed, which as a result, I'm thinking about the fact that I'm probably no longer going to be able to try to get the Detective Pikachu Returns, because obviously, not only because of how the fact that it plays very similar to the forms of how it does it on the 3DS game, but what I've noticed is that the visuals are pretty much a downgrade compared to the forms of how it does on the superior graphics departments, but not just by the forms of Pokémon Tournament DX, but also with new Pokemon Snap as well. So because still, a lot of people still seem to say that those two Pokemon games combined, likely also Pokémon Tournament DX, which is basically just a Wii U port of the forms of the original game or something, or a Switch port to a Wii U game, but also about the fact that with new Pokemon Snap, both of those games are the best visual games-wise. So because of that, because I just have no idea why, that those games nowadays seems to have a lot of downgraded visuals. Well, usually the only exception being is Let's Go Pikachu / Eevee, because both of those games visual presentation-wise are pretty great. Well, nothing spectacular, unlike the forms of how it does it on Pokémon Tournament DX and new Pokemon Snap, because both of those games are spin-offs, and they're both made by the forms of not just by the forms of Nintendo, but also Bandai Namco, which I believe to me, Bandai Namco does a massively well done job for its graphics department when it comes to both of those games. So that's essentially what I feel about it though. It's kind of a shame that I no longer have those two games anymore, mainly because more Switch games are definitely going to be coming, specifically for, you know, Mario vs. Donkey Kong Remake, and Princess Peach Showtime, and Luigi's Mansion 2 HD, so we can finally get a chance to do that Let's Play, rather than just doing, you know what I'm saying, the 3DS mods for capture card recording, and on top of all that stuff, though, with this awkward setup with the actual camera in mind, and on top of that, Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door Remake. So, we still have no idea what the next batch of games are going to be releasing for 2024, for the Nintendo Switch in mind, but I bet that a lot of people keep on asking for Zelda HD ports, which we've on about this so many times, and as a result, still no luck with those particular games are definitely going to be coming. So it's so difficult to tell of what's been going on at this point. So, and also we got some familiar turning platforms right there. That is probably best to just not jump onto them. And just watch out for those Medusa heads, because obviously if you get hit, and you get knocked back, and then not only that, it just leads you to death, basically, so... Oh, jeez. I'm hoping there's a door in there. Yep, there's a door right there. Oh, wait, that was a close call. So we're now on to the 7th segment, so... And something tells me I'm about to die right there, so yeah, there goes my another death. Oh my gosh, this is getting ridiculous for the sake of the forms of how many deaths I encountered. I get it because of its length, but it's just that although I was originally able to put in the actual code in the password system saying help me to give me 10 lives, which make the actual process not so much of an issue, but still, it's just incredibly inconsistent sometimes with all these enemy placements, you know? Oh god, yet another auto-scrolling segment, but this time we're about to go upwards instead of downwards. Oh jeez. It's bad enough, this stupid skeleton enemy just sometimes block my way. And, as long as you were able to get a good timing with your whip hit detection, then you should be okay, but it's just... oh, it's so aggravating. Anyways, but at least we got an extra life back at the very least, but still, nothing can go wrong with that, I suppose, but still. I believe something tells me once you complete certain stages, you can able to actually get into the exactly same levels as you did from the alternative route you can take. So that's a cool thing about Castlevania 3 Dracula's Curse, I'm not gonna lie, because it has a lot of replayability for, you know, choosing your own paths, as well as multitude of playable characters you can able to play as, and pretty much everything else is a quite nifty adventure for the NES, even for the last hurrah for the Castlevania games to be released on the NES before moving on to the Super Nintendo and stuff like that, so... And it looks like we come across into the exactly same boss fight as we did from earlier, from the likes of the forms of, let's say, one of the last segments of the game, except... to make matters even much more tougher is that because of how the fact that we have less platforms to deal with, and there's no safety catch. So, although there is a bit of safety catch here and there, but it's just that, well, I just have no idea. I just keep on dying so many gosh darn times. Oh my god. I really wish if I was going to play on the Famicom version because of the forms, and not only for its superior soundtrack, but also the difficulty will be a lot more balanced. So, it's all depending on the forms of how the fact that, well, the reason why we keep on getting hit, likely also, worst of all, is that when our health bars start to decrease by a large margin sometimes, it's most notably because it's all depending on the forms of how far you go into the game. Like, that's just a bit ridiculous if you ask me. Like, I've heard a lot of people doomed to die about 90 times during the forms of this entire playthrough of Castlevania 3 Dracula's Curse, even with multitude of, like, replays included. So, at least to be more specifically, if you try to go through multitude of pathways, as well as alternative levels you can able to explore, and, well, at least I don't mind about the actual, I don't know about you, because even then I'll talk more about that once we get to my final thoughts of this entire game of Castlevania 3 Dracula's Curse, so... oh, it's bad enough. Oh, thank God. Thank goodness there was a pot roast right over there. God, I should just go that way, because obviously, for my attempt from earlier ago, that it does not go too well. But, thankfully though, if you try to get into the boss fight itself, thankfully those enemies do seem to able to go off screen, so at the very least that's something, so... alright, time for the second rematch, or in some cases the second attempt on this particular fight that we once again got to take down, not only for those mummies, but it's also eventually with that particular weird monster thingy that, well, whatever we get to until at some point. But, yeah, it's basically the exactly same fight as we've already did, since injury forms have been in my first run through so far, but even then, no, it's just about the fact that once we're able to done with this particular level, I will show you guys the another alternative level that we can pretty much show you guys throughout, so... but then again, no, it's just the entire process of doing this can take a very long time, mainly because, as I said before, with a lot of trial and error, and on top of that, a lot of frustration is going to be involved. Not only that, certain stages can go a little bit longer than I feel like. And also, I feel like this boss attempts to drag on at points, because sometimes he... constantly sometimes likes to able to just do a charge attack at us, which I was not hoping he can do that, but I was expecting that I was trying to get good amount of hits on him though, but sometimes though it's just the way of how the fact that the boss is behaving can sometimes feels a bit too weird for my liking, so... oh jeez, that was close. Okay. Thank God I did not get hit right there, but yeah, that could really just drag on with that particular stupid attack, as you can tell, and you don't get enough reaction timing if you're trying to able to jump over him sometimes. But anyway, let's see if we can get this last hit on him. Alright, there we go. That fight drags. Well, at least specifically on the second segment right there. And not only that, I'm almost running out of time. So because of that, though, if I get a time up, basically, though, I will lose a life. So, very similar to the forms of how it does it on the standard Mario game. Specifically, the 2D Mario game regardless. So, alright, come on, let's see if we can able to finish this guy off. Thankfully, it's a lot more easier to deal with. So, because I know exactly what to do after playing through Castlevania 1. But, sometimes you have to be very careful with his specific stomps. And there we go. My god, the longest level is finally done. After so many deaths later, my god, that level drags. Anyways, let's move on to the next alternative level.
2 hours later.
Okay, this is my third run through so far for the sake of Castlevania 3 Dracula's Curse, and now we're gonna go into, as I said before, yet another alternative level. In fact, this might actually be the final alternative level we can probably be able to explore at this point. So, and something tells me is that we're going into, let's just say, a water powers kind of syndrome. So because it's filled to the brim with water, and on top of that, if you fell in the water like I just did right there, then you die automatically. So even then, and also, as you can tell, I still managed to call myself Grant the Nasty with us, just in case for the sake of the fact that I was originally trying to able to bring back Alucard, but I must be quite frank here, I think Alucard is my least favorite character to play as in this game, but hopefully he'll become a lot more improvement until Symphony of the Night, which as a result, that'll be the ordeal thing, especially because, gee, no wonder why, during the course of in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, that when you do manage to able to summon Pit's guidance thing, or Palutena guidelines or something like that, when you're trying to able to fight against with not only, let's just say, Simon Belmont, or to be more specifically, Richter Belmont, then obviously Alucard will show up in the actual conversations, ever since in during the forms of Symphony of the Night. So, well, you probably already know what I'm talking about here. So, anywho though, so let's just go ahead and go through some more staircases, and we'll go ahead and bring back Grant, so just in case we haven't seen him for quite some time, but hopefully we'll able to play as him more often, especially because you can able to actually pull off some nice little shortcuts with him, like you're sorry if you don't be bothered able to take care of this very weird snake monster, and there goes my another game over, which that was like, what, 3 of them so far? Jeez, oh my god. How could this game get any more difficult than this? Oh jeez, I will say this game is much harder than the first game or the second game, although sometimes though the difficulty can be depending on the forms of just try not to rush this, even though sometimes I will have to admit that I need to rush on it sometimes just because the time limit is about to show up, so yeah, it's to be expected. So anywho though, so yeah, let me know in the comments down below for the question of the day. What was your thoughts while looking back from 14 years ago for the sake of the forms of, do you guys even remember playing Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Winter Games on the Wii and DS versions? Because honestly, I managed able to still enjoy both of those games back to back. Mainly the Wii version a lot more, just because of its amazing graphics for the time, despite only runs at 30 FPS on the majority of the forms of the events and stuff like that. Although, well, to be speaking, I was about the fact that it only runs at 60 FPS. It was on the menus, including by the forms within the party games and stuff like that. But that's about it as far as I can usually say about this, I guess. Despite the fact that I, unfortunately though, I haven't got my chance to able to actually fully 100% everything in not just by the forms within the DS version, but also the Wii version as well, when it comes to getting every single emblems, because obviously the Nintendo Wi-Fi connection is now dead. Although I was expecting to able to fully 100% everything on the London 2012 Olympic Games, luckily, because obviously one of those challenges do usually requires to able to actually double check on the world records for the actual Nintendo Wi-Fi connection. So, which I was a little bit worried for the sake of the forms of Mario and Sonic at the Sochi 2014 Olympic Winter Games, despite it's my least favorite games in the series. But as a result of that particular matter though, it's just about the fact that I was expecting I need to complete certain challenges. I'm hoping one of those challenges is not locked out behind online functions, because, well, honestly, if that does seem to be the case, I'm pretty much screwed. So, which reminds me is that maybe at some point in the future, that some modders out there will able to bring out like an online patch for the sake of the forms of like a special kind of patch for not just by the forms within the Wii U, although I'm pretty sure modding the Wii U online capabilities will be self-explanatory. However, the 3DS, it will be pretty complicated, so at least that's why I thought about it anyway. So anyways, you can able to use Grant right here, so just in case you can able to skip certain parts, like this little snakehead for instance, so that should be pretty handy, especially because concerning for the fact that you don't want to lose too much health, because, well, relatively speaking, you just don't want to able to get hit so many times, so, which, trust me, it's pretty easy to do, especially noticeable concerning for the fact that if you time your whips wrong, then obviously you're gonna get hit a lot, so, oh, goodness gracious me. Although, by that time, once we get to Castlevania Bloodlines, I think we'll pretty much have to do 2 playthroughs with 2 different playable characters respectively, so, whilst thankfully, unlike in this, I have to do a multitude of playthroughs for the sake of not only showing us some playable characters in action, but also showing you guys different level themes, so, but thankfully, as I said before, once we get to Super Castlevania 4, the actual process will be streamlined, so because of that, though, we don't need to worry about certain complications here and there, so anyways though, so let's go and get rid of this another bone snakehead, so, oh really? I did not notice with this very unexpected movement, even with shooting these fireballs included, so, I mean, seriously. Alright, so here we go with this next fight, and presumably speaking, we're about to fight against with this larger bone snakehead thingy right there. I'm not exactly sure what his name is though, because obviously it's just about the fact that it's been about quite a few hours since I actually have last played this, so... Alright, so basically we have to aim onto its head, so... And it's bad enough I've only got a little bit of health left, so if I die, I'll get pushed back even further, so... Still, it's very stingy though. Alright. Hopefully it should be almost down by that time. Okay. And once you get to that point, if you think this boss is done, oh god. Oh my lord, he decided able to get the water in, so this means the water is gonna rise. So, yeah, we have to get out of here as much as we can, and we don't want to drown. So, I guess that makes it a little bit obvious kind of thing about it. Which, kind of thinking about it, it does kind of reminds me of the forms of how we usually did for, not only Ants, but also Sonic Adventure, for likely also when, Chaos is in Rampage, so, and then just somehow became Perfect Chaos during that time, so, yeah, I can totally see that particular similarities from here, so, drat! That's not good, but, thankfully, if you managed able to switch over to Grant right here, then thankfully the mid-air controls will be a lot more manageable, so it's just those enemy placements can be really iffy right here, but thankfully we're almost there, and thankfully this is one of the shortest levels we can able to actually explore into, so at least I don't have to show you guys level 7 again, because god, level 7 is just really dragged on, even with that particular Tetris block segments, because you know, it really tends to drag, so... Alright, so we're almost there, so I think what's even interesting is that we're gonna be going on to the left side, which means that the end of the level should be just around that spot over there, and as soon as we made our way here, then, oh look, we have this guy again, so meaning that he's almost close to death, so hopefully we should be able to beat him for reals, so hopefully that won't give me that much trouble, I don't think. Even though if I get a knockback, I will just plummet down to the water as I go. But, yeah, not much else to talk about for this particular point, and there we go. Oh my lord. But we'll grab this orb right here, and there we go. This level is done. So I'll meet you guys back on the current level as we're playing through, so... Oh boy.
3 hours later.
4th playthrough so far for this particular Let's Play of Castlevania 3 at this point. So as you can see, I've decided able to bring back Cypher, because obviously Cypher will be useful for certain situations, and now we're going to be able to continue exploring the actual castle itself, and hopefully by that time, we can pretty much guarantee we'll finish off the game once and for all. So, because let me tell you, I'm pretty much done with the difficulty in this game, because, good lord, the amount of stuff you have to deal with is just maddening. So, well, it gets even worse until when it gets to the point until on level 9, because my god, they bring up a lot of stuff from the previous levels again, but what makes things a little bit more tough and difficult, well, I suppose we'll probably have to save that particular topic for later, but either way, let's go up the stairs as we go, and to be more specifically, we need to take care of these guys right here, and just take down some more candles to reveal something for this matter, and yeah, I will say, the entire experience of this game so far is quite interesting, especially because, while I do love the level themes, don't get me wrong, just have some bit of different variety for the table, like the also we're going to be able to explore into. I was expecting for the fact that we can able to explore something a bit more wintry, but even then, no, that might not be the case, because obviously, since that's, this is almost going to be like, well, I don't know about you, but anywho though, I believe something tells me also is that I believe we've only got about 16 more days to go until Halloween is about to be on the horizon. So yeah, that should be something, I suppose, especially concerning for the fact that, well, obviously no matter what though, is that between both Castlevania 3 Dracula's Curse and the DLC department for Sonic Frontiers The Final Horizon is by far the hardest thing I've ever played so far for this year so far. Especially concerning for the fact that hopefully that, well, for I've heard anyway, that maybe the Super Mario Bros. Wonder is also kind of feels a bit difficult. Well, specifically if you're trying to go for a completion, which, oh boy, wish me luck I guess, when it comes to playing the game on my own time. And maybe eventually for next year's Let's Play department, I'm not exactly 100% sure, but again, we shall see. We shall see what happens there. Come on you, thank you. Oh my lord, alright. At least I'm hoping this level doesn't seem to able to drag on, unlike level 7 and stuff like that, but either way though, because I'm just impatient hedgehog, which as a result I hate waiting around. Although Tails keep on telling me to wait, but I just can't help it for the impatiency sometimes. But either way, oh yes, we got ourselves this magical orb thingy right there, so we can able to maybe try to use that for one of the bosses coming up, but oh god, I have to run away. Come on, we'll just ignore those candles for now. Alright, there we go, and I accidentally obtained a fire briefing thing, which that's okay, because that might potentially try to work out, because we're about to face off against with, oh, hello, Death. So as a result, yeah, Death is returned, and, well, thanks to the forms of Cypher's magical attacks, he's actually a lot easier this time around, but if you think he's done, he's now got his second form, which is also pretty easy. So because of that, we can essentially try to able to, oh jeez, it really hurts you so much if you keep on getting touched by the forms of this weapon daggers, so, oh boy. But thankfully though, he's down for good. At least he's way more easier than the forms of how he does it in the first game in my opinion. I mean sure, if you use the holy water, then you should be alright, but even then no, that's as far as I can say about it. Alright, we're almost there folks, we're almost nearly at the end. So, anyways, level 9. I wonder how hard this can be, especially because, well, as I said before, that the difficulty is about to ramp up a lot. So, ranging from too many enemies, and also damage output might be a little bit too high, and you probably name the rest of it though. I mean, I've already said about this loads of times since in yesterday, but believe me, it's just, well, I can imagine this particular playthrough will take me about 2 hours, or possibly even more than that, because I have to replay the exactly same stages over and over again with different stimulations. I mean, my goodness gracious me, it's a bit too much. It's too much. Anyways though, but thankfully for the most part though is about the fact that I believe we've almost to the point about the fact that, well, although relatively speaking though, is that at this point in time that I'm almost finishing up in terms of the films of The Simpsons, the Treehouse of Horror episodes. Although speaking of The Simpsons actually, recently I found out that Disney Plus is finally releasing 34th season, which as a result, despite the fact that during the events of on TV, that obviously that season 35 has already existence, but as a result when it comes to Disney Plus streaming services as far as I'm concerned, that they're now going to be able to actually be releasing the 34th season. So maybe potentially I could probably able to actually watch the Treehouse of Horror 33 at some point once it gets towards the very end of October specifically, just in time for the sake of the films of the Halloween departure. So, but even then, no, that's as far as I can usually think about it. And oh no, oh god no, more stairs! And on top of that, more awkward enemy placements while climbing those stairs. I mean, usually relatively speaking though, it's just, yeah, I've already been on about this of how much I absolutely loathe stairs in the old school games, whilst this game is usually the most frustrating of the bunch when it comes to the films that try to utilize those things. Because some levels are filled to the brink with stairs, and combining these enemies that are just trying to tick you off is aggravating. Incredibly aggravating. I know I've been on about this, but it's because it bears repeating, and because of that, yeah, this is just ridiculous. And not only that, certain enemies will respawn every time whenever they go off screen, which makes things a little bit punishing, but still. But thankfully though, it's just about the fact that we've only got about the last few levels, and hopefully I'm basically going to be able to be not touch upon Castlevania 3 Dracula's Curse for a very, very long while. Assuming, of course, if I was trying to test out the Famicom version on my own time, which I don't know about that, because this is just ridiculous, I'm telling you. Oh yeah, one thing I forgot to mention about is that this game did originally came out in 1989, so as a result for the Famicom version, and then a year later for the NES version in 1990. So because of that though, yeah, think of like the films of the Japanese version of Castlevania 3, Dracula's Curse came out in, the Japanese version I should say, came out in 1989, the same year as The Little Mermaid came out for the big screen from the cartoon animated version, and on top of that, License to Kill, the James Bond movie by Timothy Dalton, and on top of that, when it comes to the English version of Castlevania 3 Dracula's Curse, they came out in 1990, the same year as The Prince and the Pauper from the Disney short movie cartoon, and on top of that, The Rescuers Down Under. So, yeah, that's as far as I can usually describe about the films, those release schedules and stuff like that. So, wait a minute. Don't tell me there's going to be yet another... Yep, there's going to be another crumbling segment. So, oh my god, I'm feeling a little bit exhausted already when it comes to the films with some hardest aspects about this game. I mean, it's way more tolerable in the beginning, but until the very end, my god, it's just jam-packed full of challenges, which I don't mind. It's just that, oh my god, this does remind me of Zelda 2: The Adventure of Link sometimes. Anyway, oh wait a second, there might be a 1-up. Yes, there's a 1-up. Huzzah. Oh my lord. And also, much like any forms have been level 5, the alternative level 5, you have to wait until when the enemies do spawn, so... Or, potentially speaking, if it does manage to appear, so... Okay, there's no enemy in there, so that should be alright. Oh man. Also, I don't know if you noticed, but recently the weather condition is pretty chilly today, so I need to wrap myself warm during this process. So, like, it's now gonna be 10 degrees today, which to be expected because cold weather is now gonna be coming in for the likes of the forms of an October season, or to be more specifically, October month, and all that stuff. So, but yeah, we finally managed able to pre-order not only WarioWare Move It, but also Super Mario RPG on the Switch version, as a remake I should say. So because of that, suffice to say, we're pretty much done buying everything in 2023 now, just because, well, I just cannot wait for the sake of not only for certain games coming out in 2024, likely also for 4 of those games like I mentioned earlier, but also about the fact that we can pretty much get some future potentials of what's going to be up next for not just by the forms of Sonic, but also with any other gaming franchises as well. Like, most people are still waiting for Metroid Prime 4, which as a result that we still have no idea when does Metroid Prime 4 will finally get its release date, and on top of that, it's more likely concerning it might be a very similar situation as The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild when it first been revealed during that time or something like that. So, dang it, I did not mean to pick up that fire spell again. Well, I suppose it doesn't matter anyway, because it might be pretty useful, I guess, so... some more Medusa heads. Okay, at least thankfully we somehow managed to... Oh, god dang it! Why does it took getting all of my health with 1 hit? Like 5 units of health. Oh my god. Okay, there's a heart... I have no idea what that is though. I'm guessing it's more... I don't know, hearts I suppose? But anyways, here we have ourselves a fight with a doppelganger. So, depending on what character you're going to be using, since we're going to be using Cypher for this fight, we're going to be fighting against with our doppelganger of ourselves. So, and there we go. My god, level 9, it really tends to make things a bit more difficult. Like, it really does. Alright, on to the final level in this game, folks, and my god, I cannot believe we're actually going to be almost done with Castlevania 3, Dracula's Curse, the hardest Castlevania game I've ever played so far. I mean, seriously, the entire journey is just reckless. But anyways, though, let's just go and go downstairs, just ignore that particular red skeleton enemy over there. Alright. Oh jeez, we have to go downwards. My god, the enemy just took a third of my health with 1 hit! 1 hit! Why do enemies do more damage in later stages? What's the logic in that? I mean, still, as I said, the checkpoints are gonna be pretty stingy because again, when you lose a life, you have to send the bomb 3 rooms back, which eventually causes your frustration levels to explode, like I said before. This will be especially apparent in the final stage, like, I think I'll probably have to show this off in a moment. As soon as we're able to actually just to, like, you know, decide to able to now switch over to Trevor Bill mod, and then just... more bone pillars that we have to take down, and not only that, more crumbling platforms that we have to able to navigate through. Oh, good lord, I keep on getting hit most of the time. Oh, this is not looking good. But, still, technically I've got 2 lives left. Actually, I need to switch to, Cypher because of that fireball, spell that, or actually, no way, is there gonna be, oh, okay, so we're able to use the ice spell instead to freeze up the ice pillar or bone pillar, and there we go. At least we got the checkpoint though, so that's something. So, yeah, no matter what though, on the NES version of the game, if you die during a fight against with Dracula, you have to bomb 3 rooms back instead of restarting from the grand bottom of the staircase like the first game, and then if you get a game over, you need to do the entire stage all over again. Jesus Christ. Well, thankfully, the Famicom version did manage to fix that issue, like if you die against with Dracula, you're able to restart at the bottom of the staircase just like the original game, so... But you still need to do the entire stage over and over again if you get a game over, so... blah. But even then, no, yeah, that's the perfect example of why I want able to address that elephant in the room, for able to actually discuss on that particular front, so... And of course, we have to hop onto these little, like, clock thingies right there, just in case, before we're able to fight against with Dracula himself. Oh, man. And I have to apologize for that particular lack of commentary for this point, because, seriously, this game requires a lot, I mean, a lot of concentration. I mean, seriously, though. Alright, we're almost there, there we go. Alright, on to the final moment in the game. Thank goodness, we've almost done. Oh my lord. But anyway, well, at least we come across into that familiar place ever since in the first game, so once again we have to go onto the staircase, and pretty much so. I pretty much got to ignore that dagger for now, because obviously it will be pretty useless. So I think I'll just keep the axe, which it might be useful at times, but a little bit hindering at times. And suffice to say, I'm only gonna do this with 1 life left for this extra lives part. So, yeah, Dracula is a lot more different this time around. So, yeah, here we go against with Dracula himself. So, he's actually a lot more easier this time around because you can able to hit him way more easily this time. So, obviously, you still need to aim for its head. Then once you're able to try to dodge his fire attacks, then you should be all good. And usually, relatively speaking, he does have not 1, but 3 forms. And the second form, which is a group of heads? What the heck is it supposed to be? Looks like a demonic execute. A Pokemon reference in a Castlevania game. And the second form is incredibly easy though. In a short time, you can able to beat the thing no problem. Although keep this in mind, you need to hit 5 separate heads. So, in order to able to deal the amount of damage. So, and relatively speaking though, it seems pretty weird able to actually have the second phase like this. Because unlike the first game, he does have 2 forms. So, in this game in particular, not only do we get 2 forms so far, but maybe after this there's going to be a 3rd form, which as a result, yeah, let's just go ahead and use this little axe, which as a result that deals the second phase. And here we are on to the 3rd form this time around, which is a giant man-bird that shoots lasers. Okay, I'm guessing about the fact no matter what though, yeah, there's not much else to say about it. Not that very hard though, it's just the actual lasers were able to caught you off guard at one form or another. And even then, if you fell off, and if you get game over, like I'm almost going to be doing, basically I have to redo the entire stage all over again, so that will be pretty much a drag. So, regardless of such though, it's about the fact that we still gonna keep Cypher with us. Although I was expecting to able to use her for the sake of this battle, but I'm obviously going to be using Trevor for this final fight as the actual fight itself. But with one final blast, or the one final hit, we were able to finally finish Castlevania 3, Dracula's Curse, and obtain the final orb. So yeah. My god, the hardest adventure is pretty much finally done. My lord. Anyway, depending on what character you brought along, but regardless of such though, you can still see the actual castle crumbles. So, yeah. And yep, Cypher's a woman after all. So yeah, let's talk about my final thoughts of Castlevania 3 Dracula's Curse. I think that makes the entire game and makes the sequel done right. Well, in most areas, but you get the point. The graphics are pretty good, even on the NES, and I think I really do enjoy the multiple character system, or likely the partner system, and on top of all that stuff, the level themes are actually very unique and interesting, and the soundtrack sounds really good as well, even on the NES, but as I said before, maybe I prefer the Famicom version a bit more, just because of this high energetic feel to it. And in addition to that though, there's a lot of multiple pathways you can take, which adds a lot of replayability, and it's a quite nifty adventure if you experience this game on the NES. As you probably guessed by now, my main gripe with the game is its difficulty. I mean, like any forms of how it does in my opinions on Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels, most notably on the All-Stars version, and as well as the original Famicom Disk System version, that I just feel like it gets a little bit tab frustration is going to be involved from time to time. I mean, seriously, stunts and enemy placements can sometimes feel a bit death sentence or anything else like that. But regardless of such though, I think you should probably recommend starting things off with the Famicom version first. So just in case you will be able to actually just to guarantee to get into the most tolerable experiences, all things considered. Although, relatively speaking though, it's about the fact that I should probably recommend the Famicom version a bit more, just because of its soundtrack alone. Mainly because of its high energetic feel to it though. So because of that, yeah, that was it folks. That was it for my entire Let's Play of Castlevania 3 Dracula's Curse. And my goodness, what a heck of a journey this is. Well, I'm sure most people are already enjoying this so far. For me, I'm pretty much mixed on it though. So with that being said though, this is me, Sonic the Hedgehog here from the Mexi Toys, and I'm sure enough I will be back for more of the forms of Sonic Frontiers at some point in the future. And next up in terms of the Castlevania series of Let's Plays department, next up it will be, as I said before, Super Castlevania 4 for the Super Nintendo / Super Famicom. Most people consider this to be the greatest old school Castlevania games they've ever played. So, which I possibly understand. So, that'll be until next weekend, as we've already established that before. So yeah, that was it basically. So I hope you guys do enjoy it, and I will see you guys at some point in a later time. So see you guys then. Bye.